Hello, hello. We're here.
Hi.
Yep,
How's
we're
everybody
here.
doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm not sure if I'm everyone though.
You are everyone.
Yeah.
It's
So,
it's a chill evening.
hmm
Chill yeah. We're I'll let you introduce.
I don't really know how to introduce you. You're here like for the eighth time. You're no longer a special guest. You finally have a name.
Feels good.
Hi, V.
V, what's up?
So is everyone? I don't know why that just seems funny to me. Probably because I'm still small. I think you're smaller than me. Everything smells like burnt tires. Why does everything smells like burnt tires?
Yeah, that's a very peculiar smell.
I don't know. I hope it comes from outside. I hope so too.
Yeah.
Especially considering I think it's very late for you right now.
Oh, was somebody zooming? Was somebody like doing donuts?
Meow, meow. I don't get those in where I live. I just get a bunch of car crashes in front of my house.
Oh my god. What?
Okay. To explain, the streets around here are kind of narrow, and there's a bunch of like shit in the way of like seeing things whenever you're trying to go in and out of places. So like car crashes happen very often right in front of where I live. Oh my god, you just pixelated. Oh, oh.
It's okay. It's okay. Just there's an earthquake. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Uh
There. There.
there's no car sounds anywhere. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, burnt tires then is a very strange smell.
Hmm.
But yes, it is good. It is good to be back on the Stella broadcast,
Every
the
week.
eighth
I
annual
haven't
every
been able to
week.
get rid of him for the past 2 months.
That's right. I've moved. I'm just freeloading, you know.
it
Uh
it's weird to think that we've done this for 2 months now.
that's holy shit. That's fucking insane. That
That
is
is
really weird.
insane. Oh my god. And you actually got you to get here, so you're no longer in the TV, which is
Yeah.
great.
I've learned a lot in these past 2 months about streaming.
The new
There's
topics are
still
still
much
being
more.
produced.
And
Mm-hmm.
still, yeah. I got a lot of shit to talk about. I could just fucking go on about my fixations until, we have a saying down south until the cows come home. That's how long I can talk about this stuff. Um, and I'm always very curious to uh, poke Star's brain about this stuff as well.
What
West of
is
Loathing,
what the-
yeah.
Is that your only
This is
impression of Southern like Americans from the South? Because you showed me that game before.
Accurate impression of the South.
Right, I forget I'm the most
Yeah.
southern person here. The only thing southern about me is the fact that I like sweet tea also.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sweet tea can't be beat.
I used to not like sweet tea, believe it or not. But I think that it's because the sweet tea that I got wasn't sweet at all.
Oh.
It wasn't even
Oh.
unsweetened tea. It just like they didn't know that, they didn't add syrup and such.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on those hot days, there's something about tea, like sweet tea, hell, even unsweet tea. There's something about it that just like it feels like it's hydrating you more than water. You just like drink it like, oh my god, I feel the most refreshed I've ever felt in my life right now. But yeah, no, I mean, it is, it's tea. So yeah, it's water, but something about it.
I am the most non-Finnish Finnish person since I don't like drinking sauna in too long or skin sausages.
Hmm.
What do you mean by skin sausages? I'm confused by that.
Is that like the casing with the yeah. Yeah.
Sausage with
My
skin.
my my uncle makes those.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't really eat sausages. Nor do I really like sausages.
They're they're an experience. I wouldn't prefer it. My uncle like hunts, so he will like make all sorts of food out of stuff
Hmm.
that he hunts. And yeah, one of those was I think was it deer? I don't remember. That guy's more southern than I am, and he lives in New York.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, I've never been hunting.
Me neither. Makes sense. Only so the thing I've eaten is like, well, not even eaten, but almost ate was alligator and cornbread.
Alligator?
Alligator meat and cornbread.
Was it good?
I don't know because my brother tried tricking me into eating it, but I knew something
Oh,
tasted funky, so I didn't even swallow anything yet. So I spat it out immediately once he told me.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
that'd be kind of
huh.
weird.
No wonder why this tastes a little bit funky, a little bit gamey and saltier than usual. Yeah, I'm gonna not fully eat this yet. Um, and then just spit it out and pretend like nothing happened. The most exotic thing I've eaten was crayons, funnily enough. You ever
Okay,
like put
so
crayons in like a sharpener and then you just put the shavings on things?
oh yeah, you just unlocked a fucking memory. Uh, I remember. Yeah, I remember doing that because as a kid, you're just like, I put pencil in here. What if I put crayon in here? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I hate to do this, but I will be right back. Something came up. It won't be long. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. I guess he's leaving. And it's just me as I'm covering for him. But yeah. I don't really think there's been anything else that's exotic, quote unquote, that I've eaten. I haven't even eaten crayons or anything like that. Or cardboard. I'm not the usual. I did try to eat paper once. I don't remember why though. Hmm. There was a time that I also ate a little bit of plastic from like the fruit roll-ups because it was hard to get off the fruit roll-ups. Look, I was around 18 and 20 when I fire those. You're telling me when you were 18 and 20 you ate crayons? People made them into a smoothie. Why did they make them into a smoothie? What's appealing about a crayon smoothie? Like, I know they look nice and, like yummy, but like a smoothie? Especially with all the colors getting mixed up and all that. Yeah. What do they even taste like? I've never eaten a crayon before because I was never insane as a kid. I was a good noodle who followed doing everything everyone else told her to do.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, welcome back. Just boop, and now you're back. I don't know. Minnie's smoothie had a lot of hot sauce and some other stuff. I vetoed squid out of it. Was it just making a concoction of the most disgusting things you can find?
Oh my god, what? Wait, what is?
Basically. Oh, so you're telling me a normal day at school lunch. Got it.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was always little science experiments.
Yep,
Where-
every lunchtime. There's always
Yeah.
one kid mixing up a bunch of disgusting food together, never eating it and leaving it to waste. We also had those beans. I hate beans. Especially when they put it into like the science experiments of mixing it in with a bunch of other foods. I hate beans. Just to look at them give me the yikes. Unfortunately, I know I've offended many cultures by saying this, but uh I mean the random flavored ones. What do you mean the random flavored ones? Do you mean like
Oh,
jelly beans?
no, the Bean Boozle.
The bean boozle.
Yeah, the jelly bean. Yeah, you're saying the jelly beans.
Yes, those ones.
The ones that are like
Actually,
barf flavor or lemon.
yeah. I actually have a can of bean boozle, but it's like so old that I don't know whether I should eat it anymore or not. It's been there for
It's
like
an
a year.
extra challenge. Now it's an extra challenge.
A whole handful of those at once. Oh no.
I feel like you'd be better off doing it that way. Cuz at that point it's just like flavor overload and it'll just mesh into like a muted flavor. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, me personally, I'm not a big fan of jelly beans. I'm not gonna lie. Everyone was so scared of them. I still am. But I'm not a big fan of jelly beans enough to like do something with them. Like I bought like a can of them for me to try with friends. But then the time of friends never came. So now I've just had them for like a year. And now I don't
Yeah,
know if
jelly
they're safe
beans
anymore
are
to eat or not.
yeah. I
I
don't
haven't
know.
opened them,
I'm
but
kind of muted on them.
hmm. I'm not really a big fan of them because it's like it just tastes like sugar encasing with like a little bit of
Yeah.
flavoring. I'm not the
Do
biggest
you
fan of stuff like that.
how do you feel? Okay, so you uh what about candy corn?
I'm okay with them. They're a bit better
Candy,
than like jelly beans in my opinion.
gotcha. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I haven't had candy corn for forever.
Me neither. They were usually given to me by my like Spanish teacher in like middle school.
That's what I'm gonna do this year. I got a new desk, and I have like a lot more desk space. So
Mm.
maybe for Halloween, I'll get like a jar of like candy corn and just like put it, you know.
Ooh, yes. All right. Funnily enough, the crayon smoothie was actually pretty good.
Huh.
What was on that crayon smoothie again? I had to process. Like, list off all the ingredients for me, please, V. I need to know. As I'm finishing off the rest of my peach tea.
I'm jealous.
Well, it's peach and orange tea, like regular, like warm up tea, not like sweet tea or iced tea.
Mm.
It's pretty good. I like it.
Crayon smoothie.
What do crayons even taste like?
Yeah, I mean it's like wax, right? I mean like people do chew wax.
Alright. Strawberry white chocolate crayons, hot sauce, two random ingredients in liquid that I don't remember. They never told me all the ingredients.
Oh.
So it was a mystery drink to the purist.
Mm. I mean it's probably for the best.
Probably. Hmm. I did veto the squid since suction cups were on that. Good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you,
Yeah,
because
I would as well.
those could actually kill people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of
Well,
like. Go ahead.
speaking of speaking of killing people, no, no. Uh did you so crayons. Tell me about crayons, okay? Your history with crayons. Did you draw as a kid? Did you make little comics as a kid?
I did. I believe I showed her to you about two still broadcasts ago. My character Clara. I have
Mm-hmm.
the drawing of her on a piece of paper somewhere, not in a sketchbook, but on a piece of paper. She was the first little character I ever drew, and it's literally a comic of God literally drawing her, aka, I guess you could say me, but I never had that in mind when I was making as a kid. Literally just a creation created by a pencil, and her defying the pencil and going off to do something else. And then that's where it ended because I never continued.
Good. That's good. That's good. You know, my first foray wasn't as meta. It was very I don't remember how old I was. I was probably like maybe like 6 or something. Um
Hmm.
maybe a little older. Probably like like maybe 10. I bet 10. My first foray was a Stickman comic, you know, because I didn't know how to
Ooh.
draw. So I was like, let me draw a comic out of Stickman. I remember I liked Samurai Jack. I was like big into
Ooh,
that. I was like, man, this is...
yes, let's go. I love Samurai
So
Jack.
my idea was like, to be distinct, I was gonna make it about a ninja that gets sent forward to the future, but not too far into the future. Not too far. Like still in the past for us as real people. Because the other thing that I was obsessed with, like a million other kids, was like World War II. In the worst, like, because I feel like kids are like, whoa, like fighter planes and like, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand like the nuance. They're just like, all right, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what if ninja gets sent forward and he's in World War II, but he's got his sword, and then he like picks up a gun, and it's like, well, uh I mean, it was kind of the little kid thing of, and then, just the kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing where it's just like you just go off. But I remember I made like a little tiny comic, and I like stapled together printer paper, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna show my friends. Um,
Mm.
and I unfortunately I no longer have Ninja Stickman.
No,
Yeah, no, he's gone.
I would have loved to
Uh,
write it.
I don't remember much about it, but it was definitely very much like, these are my fixations as a little baby boy. And then my friend at the time made a companion called Samurai Fat Guy. Uh, and then we'd make little comics together.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so that's my introduction to comics. I didn't really know how to make them. I mean, I saw like Sunday comics, and I think maybe because my dad was into comic books, so I
Mm.
would see like those around. Um, but for the longest time, I never really entertained the idea of actually like making like serious, like as a kid that was the first. But even in my mind I was like, well, I like the animation, like ideally this would be like Samurai Jack,
Mm.
uh it was only like way later for me that I started to get into the technical aspect of comics. uh After that initial foray for you, Star, did you ever get back into comics? Did you ever toy around with the idea?
Um, I mean, there were some other comics that I did toy around. Like I remember making this stupid little comic as a kid called like I think like Kitty Burrito or something like that. It's literally like a cat wrapped in a burrito body, jumping out of airplanes, exploding upon other people of just nothing but burrito stuff. And just the burrito cat happy while everyone else is just like sad that they got dirty or something like that. Or like later on, me trying to sit down and do it more officially of like, the Mesa story. Because
Yeah.
like it basically was like a challenge at school of like do something for 20 minutes every day. So what did I do? I tried making a comic, but I wasn't finished with all the writing. And since I didn't really have much of else of like to show for the fact that I did something, I kind of just ended up making like I guess it might as well be a sketch of like the cover book for it and some like character concept designs at least for it, and just kind of ran with that and then never went back. I have not posted anything,
Gotcha,
but I've
gotcha.
always dreamt of making a comic specifically about the character that you kind of see on screen. Different lore though, because VTubing and character writing stuff are different niches in their own right. So it's like they have to have like different like backgrounds for in order to fit their different niches.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Especially if like I have a bunch of characters in the comic, like if I were to like say, "Oh yeah, the same applies for the character you see on screen right now," then they're gonna be like, "Where are they?" And I don't really have anyone to like share that or like play those characters, so I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." Alternate
Yeah.
realities, I guess.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So today I was planning on, going off about my favorite aspect about comics, which wasn't initially my favorite aspect about comics, but the paneling. Um, it was only after I got into making comics that I started to get obsessed with paneling.
Mm.
Um, I think for me, it kind of all started with my uncle giving me this like Will Eisner sketchbook art book. If you've never heard of Will Eisner, people call him the champion of the graphic novel. He's a very, I mean, you've probably heard of the Eisner Awards at some point, comic book awards. The guy is good at putting together a visual story, in the medium of
Mm.
comic books. Very influential dude. Uh, as with, uh, uh, it's the thing that kind of struck me about him were the tiny little comics that he'd make that he wouldn't even really publish. He would just make small, like little stories. Um, and that's what was kind of in there. But they were so very human, I guess. Like it was all about living in, because one of his favorite subjects was like the city, like New York City, and just that kind of life. And he would draw like scenes and characters that like lived in the city, and just all this stuff. I mean,
Is
dude,
that why every
dude.
superhero movie and every source of media for superheroes in the West is always in New York?
You know, probably. Yeah, I mean the guy is super super influential. But yeah, so I didn't really know that much about comics, and I still kind of like about other comic books,
Mm.
and I still kind of like. I mean, I know like when I was in middle school, I had like a Spider-Man trade, and I would like read. It was Ultimate Spider-Man, and
So are we
stuff like
paneling
that.
a kitchen or a bathroom with that?
What?
That's what B said.
Oh, kitchen or bath? I think actually, we're gonna go kitchen. You know, uh, but yeah. So when I got that gift from my uncle, that really kind of kicked off my fascination with comics, and then from there I started to learn a few things about them and started to take the idea of actually making a comic uh, more seriously. When before that, I would kind of think of ideas and stories, and then I would be like, this would be a really cool, like, I really would want to see this as, I mean, again, like the Ninja Stickman, I'd really want to see this as an animation. Uh, but I can't do that by myself, so I guess I'll make a comic. And I think a lot of people have had that kind of thought process in the past because there is a truth to it in the sense that animation takes a hell of a lot more time, um, depending on how you're making the comic. I mean, certain methods would demand a lot more time than others, but generally, if you're drawing thousands upon thousands of frames, um, you're doing a hell of a lot more drawing than uh, 7 panels on a page.
Is
Uh,
it animation just comic panels and fast pace?
so that's
Uh,
what I thought. That is what
Yes
I
and
believed.
no.
That's
Yes
that's
and
what I
no.
thought in the beginning before I got to comics. So there is a portion of it that, is just pure visual storytelling. That is basically just animation and panels. Um,
If
visual
anything,
storytelling is gonna. What's up?
uh, I was gonna say, if anything, animation is just combining comic making and film together.
Yeah, yeah. Visual storytelling. There's a lot of overlap. Like with things like
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to you before. Photography. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is a visual storytelling element to photography, and a lot of those feed back into, or could feed into something like a comic or something like an animation, just because things like composition, there's a lot of rules of visual storytelling that carry over no matter what medium. Video game just kind of is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But every medium has an inherent language to it that makes it unique. Every single medium has its own method. Uh, I've always thought that, with games, obviously it's the interactivity. You can't do that in a animation. And I think I kind of went on a tirade about this before when I was talking about an idea of mine, but that's maybe for another day. I think games could, in terms of storytelling, could have more interaction, but it's just they
Mm-hmm.
don't just have to be like movies intercut between gameplay. You could do more. But that's beside the point. For comics, it's a similar thing. Comics have their own language that is inherent to the comic medium that doesn't exist in animation, doesn't exist in any other medium, only in comics. And a lot of that language lies in the paneling. So I could, let's see. Let's go to the drawing.
All right.
This is gonna be a little earthquake for a sec, don't worry. I have to move myself a little bit. Go.
Here we are.
Okay. All right. Well, don't worry about that. That's just, Look, all right. It was a moment of weakness, okay?
His ass is not happy. Oh wait, that's all the stuff I added.
Yeah.
You just hide the layer.
Yeah, you could just hide it.
It's too late. I'm erasing. I already took a picture of it anyway.
Okay, so I'm gonna try my best to explain this. I'm not a teacher, okay, but I'm going to try to teach. So let's. Oh wait, I need to make a layer. Oh, that's copy. There we go.
Okay, you
Okay.
got this.
All right, so let's say this is a panel, and let's say, this is a panel, right? This is pretty standard, right? Like this is just a little guy. He's like smiling. Doot, doot.
We just said, well, most teachers these days don't know how to teach either, so you're fine. Oh no.
Okay, so here's Ninja Stickman. And he is gonna be like, it's very hard to make tiny movements on this one, but that's okay. It'll work. So he's just standing here, and he's gonna be like, "Hi." Hi, Abu. He's gonna wave. Okay. Something like this is there's no difference between this and a storyboard, right? It's just like
Mm-hmm.
he's there, now he's waving. It's a very basic idea of motion. It's kind of crazy, and one of the books that has very, very much influenced me, at least more recently, is a book called Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. And in it, he kind of talks about how like the idea that things like this are just like accepted visually by people as just like, okay, it's the same person, they're waving, kind of insane. Like that's weird. Like that people are just like, yeah, that your brain just literally fills in the gaps. It's just like whatever. That's kind of nuts. I would do in a comic that I make named The Nightmare Witch. Something that I've taken to doing a lot when it's a very gradual movement. Like if a character's moving throughout the scene, there is kind of a thing that you can do. It may not be. Let me see if this works. So like, let's say, Mr. Ninja Stickman is walking.
The
He's doing
little
this.
leg up.
Yeah. And then we have another one right here. And we'll just put like. So this again, this is another thing that maybe you could do. That is kind of like animation, but obviously in comics, it doesn't move. But you can do frames like this. And your brain just interprets it as like a motion, like literally the same exact character replicated on the page in the same panel because of the logic that your brain is just intuiting here. It sees this and is just like, okay, this is a person, they're moving. Even though it's like the same, like a clone of the person is multiple times in the page, because it's like there's a direction of motion and there's like it's insane. It's incredible. Yeah, exactly. Just like what Star's drawn there. Pretty
Oh.
cool. So this is
No, his
this is
mouth.
all very. What's up?
His mouth. It disappeared.
Oh no.
Comedy and tragedy.
Yeah. This is all very this is like basic stuff. This is like basic kind of comic stuff. Depicting motion, guiding the eye, all of that stuff. Where it starts to get interesting is when you start to take into account this space here. Space here. The gutter. That's where it gets real fucking interesting. Because you can do a lot with that space. Hold on. I need to like move my view. Actually, I'm just gonna move this over. Sit over here. Okay. One of my favorite things to do. Actually, bring up the Nightmare Witch sketch, if you're able.
The one that you sent me today?
Yeah.
You know what? That works. It
That
just
does.
shows everything as well as my like bookmarks. That's fine. This is fine.
So this is the first page of my comic. And actually, let me go ahead. I'm gonna send the actual there as well. But we're talking about this now.
Yep.
Yep. So when I first started kind of getting the idea of playing around with gutters and adding things and guiding the eye through the page, which is kind of the main thing that you're going to kind of be paying extra close attention to when you're making a comic, is that the eye flows through the page in a natural way. It covers what you want people to see. It goes the direction that you want them to look at it. And it all is derived from the reading direction. Obviously, if you're reading like manga, if you're reading it's different reading direction, it's basically just the opposite of what. But if you're reading left to right, you can pretty guarantee that the eye is going to, start at top left and go, to the bottom right through a page. If it's just squares, like if it's just a bunch of squares, a bunch of standard squares, that's pretty much what's going to happen. You're going to read the first one on the top left, you're going to read the one next to it on the right, and then you're going to go down to the, to the left and down one row, and then, reading, basic reading direction. But when you have more complex elements, it requires a manipulation of where people's eyes are going. And you can do that through the way that you're drawing, like the actual things in the scene. I think it's one of the reasons why I flipped that top panel there in the sketch to the background having a direction going to the bottom left. But using kind of the images in the actual comic and using the paneling, you can kind of, like, for example, that kind of middle area where it's like her face. Those are panels that aren't broken up by gutters. So I had to be very deliberate on where the eye's going. And part of the way that I do that is I have this figure reach in and reach across the gutters so that when you're looking at it, your eyes are naturally going to go to left, right. Because without that hand there, you may be drawn to just go straight down and read those other panels below it. But because that hand is reaching over the gutter, your eye is naturally drawn to that one on the right. And then because of that one before, you just keep going to the right, and then you go down, and then, it's as intended. You see it in the sequence, even though it's not clearly delineated. Here are the gutters. Here is what it's supposed to be. And all of that's because, I wanted to have this neat transition. I wanted to have this, like, short little story, kind of visual, like, you don't really fully understand it at the beginning, but you see, like, there's this character, there's this weird hand attack, and then this guy comes out of nowhere, and he, runs, picks her up, runs off towards the light. The hand recedes, and we kind of go down, and the gutters turn to the pipes and feed into this panel. This kind of what I'm talking about, in the sense that using both the gutters and the design of the panels themselves to make something visually interesting with the page as a whole. Door to RuneScape. yeah, they're going to RuneScape 7. It's the future. It is the future, so Uh, that that stands for reintegration sector. But you know, that's all it's all comic lore. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Something that
Did I switch back?
yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me try to full screen myself again.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
So something I did more recently was kind of more of a hold on, let me pull that up actually. So that I can remember what I did.
There we go.
What?
Yeah, I was arranging things.
Cool. Okay, so I made a page kind of like this. Okay, there we go. I had like a long panel here, and then I had a panel like here, and then I had a panel here, and then I had a panel here, and then I had a panel down here. Kind of round it out. And with this arrangement, I wanted to guide the eye like this, right? It's like that. But naturally, with the panel set up like this, without any assistance from the content itself, you're not going to read it like that. You're going to read this panel, maybe look at all this, and then you're going to go here, and you're going to go there, and then you're going to go here, and then you're going to go there. There is something interesting about this I'm going to get into later. But for this, just worry about these right here. Worry about this in a second. So for these, one of the things that people do frequently as a part
Unless
of a
manga reader.
What's
Just
up?
do everything he says in reverse if you read manga.
Yeah, if you read manga, yeah, if you read manga, flip it.
Just flip all that he's about to teach you.
Yeah. So there's like a hierarchy where your eye goes. So your eye is drawn to the subjects of the scene, so you know, in the shot itself, and then higher than that, depending on where it's placed, is the actual text, like where you're reading, like that. Your eye is going to be magnetized to that because that's the content of the page. In this specific page, I had like a character here, and then I had like a character here, and then they're kind of like reaching out, like over here. Like that. So we're looking at the back of this character, and one of the reasons that I did this this arrangement partially is because of the way these characters are composed through the scene itself. So this character on the left is always on the left in this interaction, and this character on the right is always on the right in this interaction. So for visual consistency, I have this character stay on the right, even in an awkward pose. Like, it makes sense. The character is handing something back, so they have to kind of they're in a car, so they have to kind of like lean out of the window to hand something back to this other character that's in like a drive-through window. And then from here, I have a little bit dialogue coming from this character right here. So you have like a word bubble here. They say like something. I don't have the script pulled up. But then what I do with what they're saying here, because of this offset, I'm able to have it actually bleed over the gutter into this panel down here. And so that way, like the hand reaching over, that word bubble leads you to this panel and this character, and it's a close-up, extreme close-up of their mouth, and they're saying something. Actually, it was their eye. They're being very annoying. I find I'm drawn to make extreme close-ups when characters are being extremely annoying. I don't know, something about that just makes sense to me. But yeah, they say something here. And just that in itself solves the issue, right? Like, you have these two subjects here. They're within that gutter. And then you go to the word bubbles here. You read, and as you're reading, you trail into this panel. So it denies what would be the natural way of reading it because of the, actual word bubbles, because of the text. You read, and then you're here. You read that, and then you read this up here. Now, this panel, let me talk about this. Oops. Oh, this is the one. Whatever. Let's get the red out. This little area right here is another interesting thing, where naturally, even though there's nothing telling you to read up, you're still naturally kind of drawn to it. And a lot of it has to do with the positioning of these panels, because this gutter, it has like kind of this shape right here. There's this smaller panel right here, and it would be different if like this panel was like this, and then this panel was taller than that one. I'm trying to collect my thoughts for this, because this is kind of it's weird that, when this panel, like when you have like a gutter like this, and this is kind of like a common thing that I've noticed, that alters your direction of reading when you cross over, like whether or not the panel next to it has a gutter that's higher or lower. For this one, it's pretty set. I think I did... Oh yeah, this one had a way better example. Okay, I have a better example of this on the previous page. So like, I had a page that went like this. Start over here. There's a panel here. There was a panel here. And then panel here. Like that. Okay, so how would you read, like, let's cut this out. How would you
I
read,
read?
like if this is a page right here, how would you read that? Like where would you start, like panel to panel?
Oh no. Now it's just like indecision of like going down here to there or just cutting to over here. Huh.
So a lot of that's because the content dictates a lot of that for this area. But let's
So you like
say
making comic positioning compact for easy eye manipulation or just cause it's well, that's your question, isn't it?
oh wait, hold on. I'll let me
Go ahead.
So if it was like, oh, this is like a fucked up configuration, but you know, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it anyways. If it was like this,
Instead.
how would you read it?
It's because there's less content like around here.
Yeah.
You know, so you just easily go over there, but if it was like long like it was before, then you're like kind of like choice paralysis whether you continue down or if you go to the side.
Yeah. Oh shit. I'm still in the eraser. Let me look at the hold on.
Looking at what BS?
Yeah. So you like making comic positioning compact for easy eyelid manipulation or just cuz? So it's it kind of dictates the flow of the page itself.
Yeah, especially for like where the eye leads. Because if you want like easy eye manipulation, then just go back to the Ninja Man comic right there. Because it's just very simple of
Yeah.
like to the side down. Versus like this is supposed to like twist it in a more interesting way instead of the traditional means of just up, down, left, right. Or
Yeah.
mostly just,
Sometimes
right and
so
down.
for if I could like this one where is this? Whatever. The one that I did before that I crossed out. Because I got no foresight. That one I had a very roundabout way of guiding the eye through the page because it was a very monotonous and annoying interaction, and I felt like it would be thematically fitting for the eye to kind of meander through the page on that one, because it was like a fast food worker dealing with like a customer, and the customer is being kind of like being kind of annoying. So for that kind of context, I felt like it would be interesting visually, but also like doubling back like that helps kind of, you know, bring home this idea of like monotony. So there is a reason for it. And there's a whole thing with like tempo as well, like having repeating panels and having a bunch of smaller panels like next to each other tends to denote like very quick action, you know? Especially if they're like the same size. You can see a lot of that in something that is action oriented, very focused on like motion. Because generally the size of the the literal size of the panel kind of dictates how long you spend looking at it, you know? I mean, obviously there are outliers to that, but to like in a basic sense, if you see a bunch of smaller panels next to each other, you kind of look at them, you know, in sequence a lot quicker than you look at a bigger panel. But that kind of pacing does kind of like it goes back into, actually no, it's kind of the opposite of something like animation, where you would have less frames for like a very quick action, you know? And of course for that's only if you wanted to put emphasis
Muda.
on it. What was that?
The 7-page Muda from JoJo.
Oh. I don't know what that is. I mean, I know JoJo, but I haven't seen.
Okay, so basically for 7 full pages, it's just one of the main characters beating the shit out of like one like bad guy. That it warranted 7 pages. That's 7
Damn.
whole fucking pages of like detailed shots of this man beating this other man's ass.
He really wanted to emphasize it, you know?
He really did. With 7 pages spread each, I think. I don't remember exactly. But it was nuts. For animation, that goes by like a lot quicker versus you reading that. I would just go like, ha. Oh, it's still, oh my god, it's still going.
Well, see, like in animation, you would, like, in order to replicate that feeling, you would have it go on for like a little bit uncomfortably too long. I will show you my favorite page of this comic, The Nightmare Witch, and it has some interesting things.
All right, let me just grab this and move you up, and then here we go.
Okay, so for this one, I wanted to use the environment as like a pseudo gutter for a lot of these. And then I also wanted to incorporate my favorite thing of repetitious drawings, denoting kind of a slow, gradual movement through the scene. And yeah, I love doing this kind of shit. It's fun, but like also, you know, I have like these smaller intercut panels to denote like a smaller action, and then You've got this one that emphasizes. I use some weird lettering to kind of signify, maybe somebody yelling, but it's not quite getting through, and then eventually it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just like that's a few little like things that you can do in comics that are kind of inherent to themselves. I mean, lettering is like a whole other thing that I
Oh yeah, it is.
really, yeah,
Now and that also how you shape the speech bubbles as well, like different shapes,
yeah.
like italics, bolded, like to relay different meanings and such.
Yeah.
And
There
this is
was
just through
one
the lens of
thing.
a comic reader.
Typically, if you read, so with comics and with lettering specifically, for most comics, you might notice that they only use the crossbar I when they're like when they're saying just I,
Mm-hmm.
or when it's like the beginning of like a longer, at the very beginning of the word bubble, then maybe they use the crossbar I. But in the middle of the actual text, they won't use that. Comic Sans best font for anything.
No. You're wrong for that, V. No.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you're making a comic. You might as well use comics.
No.
Uh,
Like the worst font.
for this, I decided to make a font out of my handwriting. Well, unless I'm actually drawing it, like the hay up there, I drew. But for
Mm-hmm.
the text, I made a font out of my handwriting. So it looks somewhat neater because I have terrible handwriting. I have god awful hand.
Hmm.
Like, all right, I need it to be legible at least. But yeah, I think this page generally signifies some of what I do with worse than crow feet. Oh. Yeah, then, hey, pro tip, if you wanna do a comic, I would recommend making a font out of your handwriting then. Because then you can spend the time to be extra delicate once, and then you don't have to do your like natural handwriting because yeah, my handwriting is not great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's the cool thing about technology. But yeah, anyways, with comics and specifically, gutters and panel placement and word bubble placement and the placement of the characters and how they bleed over the panels or under the panels or through the panels or, like all of that stuff. There's a million ways to show one page. And you look into comics, you're going to see a bunch of different ways that people have decided or have kind of chose to kind of depict that stuff. And there are differences between regions. There are things that are inherent to manga that have just been built up as like a visual language that have then been carried over into like Western comics and like media and stuff just because of the popularization of it. And it's super fascinating if you're interested at all in comics on a deeper level. I would heavily recommend the book Understanding Comics because that's pretty much all it goes into. It goes into specifically how different regions and different types of comics have traditionally told a story using comics and kind of the inherent things that they do that only exist in comics. Um,
By Scott McCloud,
and
right?
it's fascinating. Yeah, by Scott McCloud. It really is.
Oh yeah, I can get it for $10 off thriftbooks.com.
Scott McCloud does a way better job at explaining this stuff than I have, and it goes into way more detail.
Actually, let me check if my local bookstore has some.
But it's a series of 3 books. But yeah, Understanding Comic just fucking reinvented the way that I see it. Well, not reinvented, but defined it in
No
a
more
way that I
sending
hadn't had
money, Star, just
before.
as a reminder. Ah,
I mean, Star, you can get it. You can get it for free.
for free?
You can get it for free 95.
From where?
Because that's totally how I read it the first time. And then I bought it later.
Share with
Fine,
me your
don't worry about
ways, later.
I will share.
Your magical
I
robo
will share.
ways.
I will share with you my mystical ways of reading. Later, yeah. But yeah, that's a snippet of
Can I add
of
something?
the stuff that I do. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. The library is a good start, yes. Yeah. But
I bet they would have it actually.
I'd have to check my local library then. I do have a library card, I think.
Mm.
But just one thing to note about this strip. I'm not gonna lie, when I read it the first time, I was like confused for like a hot minute. I'm like, why is there multiple versions? Until it finally hit me. I'm like, okay, it's just motion.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit different when you're going vertical, I believe, than horizontal. Because horizontal, you can see a lot more
Yeah.
of like motion, but it's like multiple going down, as well as like
Mm.
the gutters they also have right there. Well, not really the gutters, but might as well be with
Yeah.
how long the
Yeah. Luna's body is a gutter here.
yeah, and even then, like that guy's like a little bit above like her, so it's just like it confused me for like a hot minute when I first read it.
But you got it.
I got it like a few minutes later, go like, oh, it's not multiple hurt because if I remember correctly, this is like at the very beginning of the comic as well. So you're like confused and you don't know anything yet whatsoever. So you're just like, wait, is that multiple? No, okay, it's just comic. This is comic strategy. Okay, cool. Like if it was later on, then it would be a lot more readable because then the world is a lot more fleshed out and more like known versus at the start where it's just like, huh, what, what's happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought I'd share with you that from when I read it the first time.
Well, thank
Feedback live.
you. I will take that feedback and throw it in the trash.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought for a hot second is the fact that I'm gonna take that advice and tell you to go fuck yourself.
No, that also is another thing. Is even if you're doing all this stuff, it doesn't 100% guarantee that everyone's gonna read it the way you intend.
Yeah.
You try to get the majority of people, but there may be outliers.
Like me. I was an
and
outlier at
you
one
learn
point.
from that.
Mm-hmm.
You-
That's why I'm here to tell you how my brain interpret things for like a hot minute.
no, yeah, it in something with like weird looking creatures, you know.
That you know nothing about
You
yet.
yeah, you may not know exactly.
It's still a great page though, once you get it. But at start you're just like, huh? Well, like, is this stable ground for me to step on with this idea? Like, huh? But yeah. Oh no.
What is that?
What is what?
Oh, there was like there's a little frog.
Yeah. Hey, let me go to soft pencil, I believe. Yep. Okay. Can I zoom in? Please. The little frog. He's okay.
Yeah. You chilling?
He has little antlers too. He's a frog I usually doodle, although not with the antlers. First impressions are important. So that's not a clone city.
Yeah.
Perfect example of Star's attention. Stop. I swear it. You know that one Markiplier meme of like him like shaking like keys in front of his audience. It's like I know you guys can't pay attention. Jingle jingle. I need you to like work with me here. I don't think it was his audience. I think it was some other character in the game, but he kept making like the jingle and jingle like sound. And I'm like, that is me. A perfect example of my attention span. So if you need my attention, Mittens, don't be afraid to just get some.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just like forming stuff in my brain right now. Hold on. There was other, so like I could talk about tone. I don't feel too confident with it because honestly, I just kind of feel out tone, which I mean a lot of people do, but like I can't really put it to words. Other than like the basics of like dramatic looking scenes or like again like including extreme close-ups to kind of emphasize specific aspects of a scene to kind of make it a little bit more dramatic. I've been kind of doing that a little bit more recently because I'm drawing this like fast food scene that's supposed to like be really dramatic in a way that like is kind of gives the feeling that maybe there's a like it's like how would I put this? I mean, I guess anxiety or anxiousness. but yeah, that's I don't have a whole lot to show of that. I mean, I've already showed some of those pages here, but I'll have more to talk about that in the future because I'm still working on that. But yeah, that's pretty much. Let me see. I mostly wanted to just, you know, geek out about this specific aspect because it is like my favorite part is like it's kind of like a puzzle, like trying to figure out ways for you to guide the eye for what you want from the page, like in terms of the feel.
You want me to blab about something?
What's up?
So, you know that guy that you said that's very influential to the comic book industry?
Yeah.
What was his... Oh, they said something. Cashier, what can I get for you? Comes through with intense close-up. A cheeseburger. Dramatic music and zoom in and horrified cheeseburger burger screaming noise.
Yeah, I mean pretty much. That's pretty much what I yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, when you were talking about him, it kind of reminds me of how I feel about James Baxter. Do you know who he is?
I do not. At least I
He
think I
is
don't. I might.
he is my version of the guy that you talked about that I immediately forgot the name of because my attention span is non-existent.
Will Eisner.
Will Eisner. He's not as popular as Will Eisner, I think, but definitely doesn't have an award named after him. At least from what my recollection and what I last heard. Uh, James Baxter. James Baxter is a very prolific animator, especially in like Disney and stuff. And he's worked in some other animation projects as well as like some stuff for Steven Universe and even Adventure Time. Wait, ADCs? No, it's the seasons are coming up. Oh my god. Okay, I hate when that happens. But basically, how I first came into introduction with him is the fact that through Adventure Time, where they had literally an episode named James Baxter, I believe, and it's just a horse that's just on a beach ball, and he's just running around on the beach ball, like balancing on it and just running around with it, and says James Baxter in like a horse-like voice. And out of everything else in the show, that horse is the most animated motherfucker there. Like the animation is smooth and like very reactive, almost true to life. And this is the same guy that's worked on some Disney stuff too, like old Disney. So it's like, yeah, no wonder. Same goes for like I think Rebecca Sugar's Steven Universe of the one scene where it was like an important character moment with Steven, the main character, with himself also, but Pink. There's some stuff with the show that was going on that was very important, but it was a very prolific moment of essentially him accepting himself as himself and not some caricature or leftover bits of his mom.
Mm.
He's just him. She's not here anymore. She's gone. But the scene of them reconciling, of them hugging it out, is very well animated to the point that even little kid me was like, okay, who did this? It wasn't the Steven Universe crew. They probably helped in with it, but that was too well animated. That's where most of the budget went. And then I found out I think James Baxter also worked on that too, because it's not just a shot of them just like hugging it out and just laughing like they just survived to live another day. No, it's a shot of them going around like a 360 of just going around in a circle around like these two characters, as well as them just like hugging it out, like him showing appreciation for himself. It's very well animated. But he's like my version of that. I haven't done much research beyond that because I just appreciate him as who he is. And that made me also think of like, huh, maybe my thing isn't really necessarily like comic book stuff, but moreover like animations. Because I love
Yeah.
animation to like all my heart of like the amount of shows I watch, the amount of like random cartoon news I know of like for example like the whole Infinity Train being shut down, as well as some other shows being shut down for seemingly no reason, as well as discovering other animation or ways of like animating stuff from just passively learning. I even have a book called The Animator Survival Guide. I'm like, huh, maybe I should lean more into that. Hell, even I had dreams as a kid of being like an animator. But moreover,
Yeah.
when this like YouTube story time animator craze went on. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the story time. Yeah.
Yeah, like storytime like animator creators like Jaden Animations, The Odd Ones Out,
Mhm.
Domix, Didus, Emirichu, Emichu? I forget how her name is pronounced online, but there was a bunch of them, as well as some others that like kind of faded into obscurity because like they moved on to other things, I believe. Either that or they got into recent controversy and drama like Illuminations, for example.
Mm.
If anything, it seems like it's some sort of big misunderstanding. I haven't looked fully into that situation just yet. Totally not because I'm afraid to as well. Uh
Yeah.
oh
I mean,
jeez.
being a public figure, it's a complicated thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Yeah. No. Animation. I. It's. I mean, it's like magical. It's like it's really
Mm.
cool. Like it's just the timing and the rhythm and you know, it. They're. I mean, speaking of art forms having their own inherent aspects of them that are kind of like their own language. Like animation has this kind of thing with like weight and timing and rhythm and gravity and like all of that. Like you're kind of holding all this stuff in your mind while you're kind of planning out this animation and yeah, I don't know. It's like it's a specific way of thinking that you have to like train your brain to intuit.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I mean, I've always I took a class for animation. Um
Really?
yeah, in like high school.
Oh.
And we did read that book. Like not cover to cover, but the animator survival guide or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was called. I forgot the name. But yeah, we did read like specifically because we would have projects that were kind of like based around different parts. Like in that book they talk about like the classic, the ball bounce, the
Mm-hmm.
walking anime. They have like a good depiction of like types, like parts of the walk in a walking animation, like the leg kind of accounting for the weight of the body, making it kind of like a controlled fall because that's what it is. Um, so I did a little bit of that, and it was cool. It was cool. And I definitely would like to do more of it in the future, you know, here and there. But being like a full-time animator, I don't know. I feel like I have too many fires, too many pans that I have to keep up with.
Hmm.
To really like dive into that. But maybe, I don't know. I feel like because I did enjoy it to a certain degree, just at the time it was kind of a lot. I mean, you know, I did my projects. I don't think I saved any of those animations. I remember like an old, so like we were doing it on like the, you know, the like animation paper. We did a project. Actually, all the projects were pretty much done like traditionally. We would just like take pictures. Um,
Hmm.
and there was this one project where I just, it was like an old man like chewing, because that's what old men do. They just chew. I don't know what he was chewing on, but he's just chewing. And then,
Mm-hmm.
oh right, it was supposed to be a take. So the project was like character turns around, they see something, and they get like you know, get shocked or whatever. So I drew an old man. He's chewing, and he gets tapped on the shoulder, and he turns around, and it's death, and he goes like ah, you know. Um, I wish I still had that stuff. I've mentioned it before, but when I was like, it's only recently, like relatively recently, that I've actually like made a conscious effort to save the stuff that I've made. Um, for like the longest time, I just wouldn't keep track of the things that I've made, and they would just kind of disappear. For one reason or another. Like I would throw them out with other stuff because I wasn't keeping track of them. Like they're in a box somewhere, and I forgot that they were in that box, so I just throw the box away. Um,
Hmm.
which is probably what happened to those. But yeah, um, it was neat. One day I'll do more animation. Probably, maybe, definitely. But right now I'm a streamer. All right.
Stream learning
Like
animation.
right. I don't know. I feel like I'm learning everything all the time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I have to like limit the amount of things that I'm learning simultaneously. Otherwise, none of them will stick. I gotta kind of like.
Yeah.
Right now, though, I'm doing more. I'm doing more doing than learning. I'm at that phase where I'm like, okay, I think I'm all right, and then at a certain point, I'll be like, no, I need to study, and then I'll just devote myself to doing that. Um, that happens to me with like art, just in general. Like, I've gotten better at turning that part of my brain off when I'm trying to make like a whole work, because it used to be that I would never finish anything because I'd always like look at what I've made and, you know, think it wasn't good enough at a certain point. Like if I made if I made like 3 pages of a comic, by the time I get to the third page, I'm looking at the first page and being like, nah, no, this sucks. Um, but I think if you want to make something and you want to finish it, you have to kind of like, it's like this balancing act, because obviously, you know, you're trying your best at it, but you're going to improve as you're making the thing. Like you're going to learn things and improve on things as you're making something.
Experience is the best teacher.
So what's up?
Experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, experience is the best teacher. And you have two options at that point. you can either throw everything away and start over, or you can carry it out. And I feel like it depends on what your plans are. Like if you're trying to make like an epic that's like 1 billion pages long and you're only on the third page and you're like second guessing yourself, it's like, all right, well, I mean, maybe you continue, but like you have to figure out if you want it to be like, is this going to be a marathon or is this going to be a sprint? You got to pick one. If it's going to be a marathon, continue. Like your first page is always going to be worse than your last page. A lot of comic creators do the thing where they like later on down the line they'll redraw their first like 100 pages or something. And I get that, but then there's another part of me that's like, I kind of like seeing the progression though. And also like, it's not like it was bad. Like the comic got popular for a reason, right? Like people didn't look at it and go, this is awful. But it is fascinating. You typically see it in webcomics because like off the shelf official comics, they're hiring people who have been working professionally drawing like their style for like years and years and years. So, it's going to be pretty consistent there. But web comics, usually you can, if you look at like the first few pages and you look at like the last few pages, it's interesting seeing like how people have progressed and kind of how they've changed their emphasis on either different designs or the way that they tell stories with the comic pages themselves. I think that's pretty cool. It's one of the reasons why I like webcomics, because of that. At least like amateur webcomics. There's like a whole industry around webcomics these days. So you do have some of those like professional kind of things where it's just like very consistent. But I like the stuff that's like, someone just decided they're going to make a comic and maybe they're not too confident, in the way that they draw, but they really believe in this story and they really believe in this thing and they can kind of draw, like they can do it. So yeah, they just go for it. I find it inspiring.
If anything, even from a reader's perspective, like I'm pretty sure like the readers also notice like the change over time. Like especially people, who are the type to go back and reread their comics. They're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like even for someone who like me who had to switch phones when reading Webtoon, because Webtoon is tied to like device basis, it's not spread out to where you last left off. So I had to go back and reread some comics from start. I had all the pages down because I was given like a heads up like before when I switched out phones and stuff like that. But I don't think it's like that anymore. But it's been so long with me reading some comics that I'm like, I don't even know what's going on in the story anymore. I'm gonna have to read it from start anyway. And I just like, I don't remember this being like this at all. And then just seeing the progression again. Like, oh my gosh, huh. Yeah, that, or if you follow the artists on social media, sometimes they'll even go as far as to talk about it.
Yeah.
They're just like showing the difference between some characters and how they're drawn like now. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Yeah, that, or seeing them grow from sitting down and asking, hey, can I'll hire someone to like color my stuff so I don't have to. Or, I'll pay you for XYZ job. Just please help me out because this is coming out in more higher demand than I would like it to be. And I'm like, huh. Didn't even occur to me.
That also is like another thing. And I think it's a common thing if you have a lot of different interests. And so it's a combination thing. If you have like low self-esteem and you have a lot of different interests, you kind of never consider the fact that like you can get people to help you. You're like, well, I have to do this myself because it's my thing and I'm the only one that's going to care about it. You know, it's like, oh, it's my shitty little comic, you know? Like, I you know, not literally, but like I think I have that feeling of like nobody has a reason to care about this thing that I'm making but me. So like nobody's going to be interested in wanting to help me. And that's not true. Really for anything. Like people are, if you're good at what you're doing, which, you know, like they're like, for example, let's say you're a writer, and you write a lot and you're able to kind of communicate your thoughts and you're able to kind of write in a way that, you know, that pulls people in. Maybe you're not a professional, but you know, you've done it enough. That's alluring. Like I think when you have a hobby and you get into it, you start to kind of take for granted just what you can do and how it looks to people on the outside, you know? Because you're hyper conscious about it and you're like, like I don't want to be cringe. I don't want to be like, you know, some, you know, kid going around with their like first drawing and saying like I'm gonna make an epic, you know. But it's like that's not what you are. If you're interested in doing it and you've been doing it for a while, chances are like you have some talents, you have some abilities to do things that like not everybody has, and you can kind of use that and your energy to pitch your idea basically. And you know, as with anything, not everybody's going to be into it. But I guarantee you that people will be, like there will be someone, okay? Like I I think that and specifically I had an instance where I wanted to, a long time ago, make an adventure game. And typically when I would do like game projects, even like I have a friend that programs, but even with that, whenever I would have like an idea and you know something that maybe I wasn't too sure of, I would just be like, well, I have to do it myself. Like I have to do because I can't have like I'm not too confident about this, and I need to be 100% sure that it's going to be like kind of stifles all of that shit, really.
I think Discord just briefly disconnected you and reconnected you.
Oh shit. Am I good?
You're here. It just briefly
cool.
disconnected you and reconnected you. Just run it back a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, there was this time, this was probably like maybe 2013-ish. I wanted to make an adventure game. And in the past, I would be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to make like systems, and I'm gonna have to like do all this stuff, and then maybe I can like do this, and you know, I would just basically assign all the tasks to myself because I felt like I had to, because it's like, well, what am I gonna do? Just go out and ask people to help me? Like nobody's gonna want to help me. It's just, I don't have a. But in this specific instance, I decided I wanted to do something different. I wanted to try, and you know what? I went to like the adventure game forums. Like there's a program called Adventure Game Studios, or Studio. And I went to that forum, and in that forum they have a like help wanted section. They're like, okay, if you've got a project, you can like. And I was like, fuck it, maybe I'll try that. Because at this point, like, I mean, I've already had like a million projects that I like started and didn't finish for one reason or another. So I was like, I really want this thing to exist. So you know what? Maybe I'll just put these drawings that I've done and like the basic plot, and pitch it. Like maybe I'll put a pitch out there and see like if anybody's interested at all in like helping me. Why not? And it turned out people were like there were like really good like pixel, because what I was asking for was a programmer and someone to do the character animations, because I was doing like backgrounds. And yeah, sure enough, like some really like skilled people like came forward and they were like, hey, I'd be down to help with this. Now ultimately that project didn't get finished, and the only reason it didn't is because I kind of had, even though I was kind of going outside of my comfort zone here, I still kind of had those doubts. Like I still kind of had that thing of like, well, now that there's people involved, it really has to be good. Oh, the story's got to be perfect. Oh, it's got to, like, like the stuff that I was doing had to be, immaculate. When in reality, it's like, it doesn't. It do your best. Work. Do your bit. But ultimately, like, there's a point where you start to become a detriment with like checking yourself, because what I've written at the time I felt like not so confident at, but looking back and reading it, I'm like, I have a more realistic perspective of it, and it's not bad. Like, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. Like, it probably would have been an enjoyable adventure games. I mean, I've played some adventure games that have had awful stories that would have been worse than this. Like, this would have been good. But at the time, I was like hypercritical and basically doubted myself into inaction, and then the project just slowly like died out. So I think recognizing when you, because the word need help is kind of like loaded, because you might trick yourself into thinking that like, because technically you could do these things, you should do them, when in reality, like, you kind of want to delineate, if you're trying to like manage your own project, you have to delineate yourself. Like, you have to basically give yourself the tasks that you're going to excel at, because everybody is better at certain things and not as good at other things. If you're jack of all trades, like, there are some things that you can do technically, but you're not the best at, you're not.
That's why
other
you, like,
things maybe you
ask for other people for help who are better at those things.
Yeah, yeah, people who actually enjoy it. And then, if you get enough of those people, all of you can enjoy your part in that thing, instead of
Mm-hmm.
you like, whipping yourself and being like, no, I have to program even though I don't like it. I have to do it because it's my idea, and nobody's gonna care about it, so I have to do it. And then like you
Mm.
write an awful program.
Yeah.
And it's like you learn, you get better, but like, are you really like, I don't know. If you like programming, absolutely. Unfortunately for me, I don't particularly like it. I think it like pisses me off, programming, in a way that keeps me engaged, but I don't feel like it's healthy for me.
Mm.
Like, with programming, I will have like moments of trying to figure out, how to make something work. Um, and the classic, it's just not working. You're trying to all these different, where you have Google, you have a million tabs open to tutorials, and you're like, oh my god, how's it? Like, there's a part of it that is a small part that's very fun, but I don't like the process enough for me to like really go into it fully. Um,
Mm. That's why you became good friends with your programmer friend, huh? Like
Actually, he
here.
became a programmer. He became a programmer. Actually, I started programming before him.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you inspire him?
I don't think so. I just think he like took to it more than I did. Like, I would the way I kind of viewed programming was I did it because I had to, because I was just like, you know,
Mm.
I don't have anyone else working with me. Um, but he kind of took to it in a way that, uh, like, he'll write programs for fun. I don't do that. Like, it's purely a means to an end for me, which is, pro tip, that's a good hint that that thing isn't something that you necessarily want to do, like as like a hobby. I mean, if you like the process enough, you could do it as a profession. But if you don't really like the process and you only view it as a means to an end, you
Mm.
probably, maybe you're interested in it, but you don't really like it all that much. What are you doing?
And I ruined my idea I had for paneling.
Hmm. Oh. Ooh.
So I guess to briefly explain this, I just had an image in my head of just like kind of like a pillar, and then just kind of like a slide going down and down and down, you know?
Hmm.
And like what that would be stupid. What why would the like how that would even fit into paneling? And I started thinking more and more about it. I'm like, hold on, let me sketch something out. So now I have these. Like because let me do this quick. For this one, your eye would go. Oh my god, that is too wide. So your eyes would go from here to here, there, like zigzagging, which would be like good if it's like again like arguing or back to back action, where it's just
Oh.
like cut to like
So
snappy movement and just looking back to back. Same with like this, but
that
it's more
one,
like bricks is also like an idea that I had in
yeah.
like in terms of motion, you know.
That one on the left. So that one I start from the right, like the top right.
I think that's just more my
Uh,
error, though, personally, than how I actually
but
wanted it to
it's
be.
like this is actually a good example of like the panel height thing because it's like
hmm
I would I would read it like this.
Yeah, that was my mistake personally. That's not how I wanted it to be read, but if you just flip it, that's what I mean. That's like how manga readers would read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but my hands were also getting restless as I was listening to you, so I was like, I need to do something.
Gotcha. But yeah, I would do like little when I was especially when I was like doing the first chapter of Nightmare Witch, I would do like little tests like that too. There was one I did that was like, okay, how would I like denote in one panel, how would I get across the idea that like the lights are flickering? And I never used this because I never really fully figured out how I wanted to do it. But like I had this idea where I would like, what if I had like a subject here? I'm gonna draw. Is this working? Yeah. So if I had like a person and they're standing and they're like eyes like this. It keeps getting frozen. All right, there we go. I'm gonna have to use white later, but I think maybe I did like half. I was trying to play around with the idea of having like a strobe that like permeates through from the character into the background between like light and dark. I never quite got it from the concepts. I never got it to a place where I was like satisfied with it. And it was a lot more visible on a subject that maybe is a little thicker than a stickman. But if you imagine like a background, and like this stickman, it's consistent. It's a consistent background across here. And it's using kind of the dark areas. I guess technically those would be like sub panels, even though they're the same panel. But like if there's like a chair, is that a tear?
He looks so sad.
He does look very sad. But yeah, doing something like this to denote like flickering lights.
Mm.
that kind of communicate that. I never ended up doing something like that, but because light and dark was like a very it was gonna be something that I was gonna like emphasize
You know what that
in the
reminds
first
me?
chapter. Hmm.
You know that one episode of Samurai Jack where he actually did like learn how to be a ninja? Well, he already knew how to be a ninja, but he was fighting against a ninja. And he's like, you may be a ninja of the dark, but I'm a ninja of the light, and just turned his like robe inside out. So then he just perfectly blended in with the light, like the white parts of like the scenery, while the black, the other ninja blended in perfectly with like the dark, shadowy. I have to show you the clip if you
I
haven't
do
seen it.
remember that. No, I
Okay.
do remember that. Yeah.
This is what that kind of reminds me of. Because I think it's peak animation.
Yeah.
Literally using black and white.
No, yeah. I love doing very like bold color schemes. In this context, I wasn't gonna make it just black and white, but for the concept, I did just black and white. Uh, it would have been tricky. It would have been tricky to do with color, which is probably why I didn't end up doing it. Um, to like have, because essentially you're drawing like two different rooms. You're drawing that's, the light is on, and you're drawing one that the light is off. And I mean, you could do it just depending on the colors that you used. Oh, that's like intimidating.
I mean, bold contrasts.
Mm.
Except I can't color in the other ones because you use actually white
Oh
instead
shit.
of eraser.
Put it over the layer and put the layer to a multiply.
I don't like how my screen keeps flashing. There's so many layers. Mine layers all the way to the bottom, man.
Sorry, that's a bad habit. I have a billion layers in all of my projects.
Alright. And then you know what's up, love. There you are. There we go. Now that looks
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, it does. Well, shit, I'm making a horror comic now. I might return to this, and I'm using heavy black shadows too.
Heavy black and white. And red. And a touch of blue. Like everything is kind of fine, but then you see the other part where everything is definitely not
Yeah.
fine. There we go. I'm not gonna lie,
It's
that
a
looks
cool
very
idea
metal.
for a panel. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I think I'm gonna use that. I think I'm gonna.
It's free real estate. Go ahead.
Yeah, free real. Because this is something that I've like I had like I drew a concept for it, but I never used it in Nightmare Witch. But you adding the red to it, I'm like, holy shit. I may do that because you're right. It is very metal.
Mm-hmm. Especially with how bright the red is too.
Yeah.
Takes contrast to a whole nother level. Shit, I might do that in some of my works. Holy shit. I like this.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
Well,
Wogue. Wogue indeed. Well, maybe not as long of a rant, but I feel like I said pretty much all I wanted to say.
hmm. I mean, same here. I'm thinking about actually putting an end to it.
Yeah.
Like, probably no, because need to prep, go to bed, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plus, we always like talk an hour after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's a good spot.
we'll end it on Wogue. Totally not because I've been playing Pizza Tower today, and I went, I think, up 2 levels.
Mm. Yeah,
Pizza
how's the
Tower.
noise been treating you?
Apparently, I'm similar to the noise, accordance of V. And I'm like, I am not like this homicidal maniac. But thanks, I guess. Because noise is actually batshit insane, and I'm too tired for any of that.
Yeah, noise is
is
terrifying.
is chaos incarnate. Like, I cannot be chaos incarnate. I'm too tired for that. I'd be like, and then just fall back right asleep in my bed. Although the tiny nose I can see. And then they're like, wait, you're not that tiny. I'm like, boy, let me tell you.
Do you skateboard? Do you shred? Do you...
No, I wanted a skateboard, but my parents never got me one. Then the neighborhood where I live isn't the safest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't
My
really
brother
allowed to
had a
walk
skateboard.
alone by myself as a kid.
Mm.
People needing to watch their backs as always, especially when you're a kid, no matter what gender.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah,
It's rough.
it can be. But I wish to have a skateboard. I think skateboards are cool, but I don't have one, so it's like, damn. And
So
there's
you
no
can
point in me
complete the
using it,
prophecy.
having it either, because like I wouldn't be able to use it as often.
Mm.
I don't even know how to ride a bike properly.
I used to ride all the time, but now if I got on a bike, I'd probably be awkward as fuck. I could do it, but I haven't ridden a bike in so long.
Mm. Whenever I tell that to people always like freak out, going like, "What? You've never ridden like you don't know how to ride a bike?" And I'm like, "I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. But I didn't have like, a parent behind me going like,
Yeah.
you got this, little Robin, you got this. Oh, you're doing it, you're doing it." I didn't have that. Like, my parents were busy, so I tried to teach myself. Didn't work out. Threw the bike down in frustration, and then never went back to it.
Mm.
I think I messed up my like my favorite jacket at the time too because I was trying to learn. It was like
Damn.
a normal utility jacket that I just used everywhere I went, and then I accidentally fell, and then it ripped a hole in it. I'm like, no. And then my mom wouldn't let me wear it because it has a hole in it, and she's like, We're getting you another one. You're not gonna look like that." And I'm like, "Oh, that's my favorite." No, but I would.
So my
What?
parents tried very hard to teach me how to ride a bike, and I just like it just wasn't clicking for me.
Mm.
And then the first time that I actually rode a bike by myself, um, my parents just weren't home, which was the best time because before that, like I was always using, I was using training wheels and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a bike. I didn't have I didn't know how to get the training wheels off of the bike that I had. So I'm like, well, I really want to try this. I really want to try this out. So I decided to use one of my older brother's old bikes, which was too big for me, but like it fit, wasn't that big, but it was just a little big for me, just a little bit. Uh, and perfect. I'm gonna use this. And I started riding it, and yeah, I was like doing circles in the driveway. Thankfully, I didn't die, but that was the first time that I actually rode a bike alone. And then it was off to the races then. But I don't remember when I stopped. Probably middle school, actually. I like rode bikes in elementary school, all throughout elementary school, and then once I got to middle school, I'm like, well, yeah, I have to take the bus anyways, so.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Well, I think we should end it here.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to me lab. I hope you had fun.
I did. I did. Kind of funny that you're not looking directly at the screen. You're just looking a
Oh,
little bit past.
yeah, because where is it? Where actually is it? I lost the window. Oh, it's over here. Okay. It's a
Earthquake.
little earthquake. A mini, yeah.
You good there now?
I'm good. I'm situated. But it was fun to blab about this. I feel like maybe I'm a little low energy, but I think I kept it going.
Hmm. I mean, tends to happen to the best of us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna kick you out now.
Okay. Okay. Wait, hold on. I have to. No, that's clapping. What is this? Oh, that's head shake. These arms, they're just not as Oh wait, here we go. Okay, bye.
Bye. Hopefully not drag you off the screen. And like that, he's gone. He's totally gone right now. Anyway, I appreciate everyone that came in today. From those lurking to me, who I'm questioning if he's still here. And it's probably fun. And yeah. We'll see you tomorrow, because tomorrow I got a collab to do with Nova Scalaris. and Orlando Soccer RP. That's something I need to speak with him. Actually, I need to go catch up with him. Uh, so yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.